In this video, we're going to talk about air purifiers under $50. Now, understand that we're using the $50 threshold a little bit liberally here. This unit right here can be had for around $50. Maybe it retails for a little bit more at some outlets or at different times of the year. It may fluctuate between $50, $60, thereabouts. But for the purposes of this video, it represents a good example of a unit that you can commonly find under $50 or thereabouts. We also have on the table here today a unit that retails for a little bit more. We're going to talk about why it's on the table here today in just a bit. So again, for around $50, you get something like this. This is a Germ Guardian AC 4100. It has 3 fan speeds. It does come with a HEPA filter and a carbon filter in there, but it only outputs at about 80 CFM on maximum settings. And that is really the big issue with any air purifier at this very low price point. You're talking about an air purifier that can only accommodate a room up to about 60, 70 square feet. And the fact is that is just too small of an area of coverage for the vast majority of applications. You may be interested in buying something like this air purifier, and you may think that it is a viable option in a room up to 100 square feet, 150 square feet even. But the fact is that in practice, a unit like this is only going to be viable in a room up to about 60 to 70 square feet, and that's really going to be its threshold there. So you may also buy this unit, and you may also think that maybe if it cannot be used in a room up to 100 square feet or 150 square feet, even larger, that's not how you're going to use it. You're going to put it right next to you, and that because it's right next to you, it's going to be able to blow that clean air right onto you, and that's the air you're going to be able to breathe in. And the unfortunate thing here is that that is simply not the case. With these small units, how they work is they intake unclean air through the back here. It goes through a series of filters, and then it is outputted through the front. And the air that is outputted here is clean air. It is air that is essentially devoid of any particles. So that's not an issue. This unit cleans air very well. So what happens is if you come up to the air purifier and you were to put your nose right up to the grill here and you were to take deep breaths of that clean air, you would be breathing in clean air. The issue here is as soon as you move even a couple of inches away from the front grill here, the particle concentration is not going to be nearly as low as it is right up here, up to the grill. And we've actually tested this, being curious ourselves, how this whole situation works. And what happens here is the fact that there is a certain level of particle concentration in the room. It may be high, it may be low, but it's going to be at a set rate before you actually turn on the air purifier. And what happens is that air is a gas. It wants to go and it wants to go towards equilibrium. It wants to even out and distribute at equal concentration in the space that it occupies. So with this unit, if you turn it on in a room, the air that's coming out right here is going to be at a very low particle concentration. But what's going to happen is the air is going to move immediately from other parts of the room, and it's going to swoop in here, and it's going to take over this area. So you never really have this bubble effect or anything like that around the air purifier. That's just not the way that air works. Higher concentration air that's higher concentration with particles is going to immediately come into this area, and the low concentration air that exits out of the air purifier is going to immediately distribute throughout the whole room. So it's just not viable to want to buy a $50 unit like this or something approximately $50 and expect it to generate clean air that you can breathe in when you're close to it. Now, what happens in a larger room? What happens is this unit just cannot process the air fast enough. It processes the air very slowly because there's so much air for it to have to go to. And because it does it at such a slow rate, it also cannot get the particle concentration threshold in the room low enough. When you want to lower the particle concentration in the room, especially when you go through all the trouble of implementing an air purifier in a room, you really want that particle concentration close to zero in the room. And if you put a small unit like this in such a room, it's never going to get anywhere close to that zero level with a unit like this. Now we do have a larger unit here, the AC 4825. These are both Germ Guardian units. But something like the AC 4825, this unit here is actually going to have sufficient output to actually lower the particle concentration in a larger room and actually bring the particle concentration lower, much closer to zero than something like this here. And again, the same thing applies here. If you put this unit in front of you, again, you're not going to have any bubble effect here where the area in the immediate vicinity of this unit is not going to be at any lower concentration, but it's going to be able to actually lower the concentration in the whole room much better with a unit like this, assuming the room is not too large for that AC 4825. So if you're watching this video, you're probably concerned about price. And the fact is that at $50, these units, there are not a lot of options. You really can only buy a unit with very low output like this one. So what is our recommendation here? Our recommendation is that you simply spend a few extra dollars and upgrade to something like this AC 4825. So what is the best unit under $50? The truth of it is that there really is no best option under $50. We would instead recommend that you spend the extra $20, $30. That's all it's going to take to move up to something like this AC 4825. And now you have a substantial air purifier that's actually going to be able to properly bring down the particle concentration in a reasonably sized room. We would not recommend any air purifier in the $50 range, unfortunately.